Welcome to episode 28 of the Global Exclusive Podcast. I'm your host, Hazard, and this week we're joined by Barros, Cotton, Dream, and Shadowwalker. Muspel is out sick. I think he caught whatever Barros had.
Yeah, we did have sex like last weekend, so it could have been that.
I shouldn't have left that open-ended. Yeah, this is a bad idea.
Yeah, we go.
Hey, it was a beautiful moment shared by two adults. Don't be judging.
Hazard, what do you think will happen? Okay, that was a perfectly led on for Barros to do something.
Although, to be honest, I'm not setting foot in California right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, impressive with the travel ban and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think you can get into the United States, but you can't leave to any other country from the United States.
Oh yeah, I definitely got in. If you know what I mean.
I don't think any other country wants anyone from the United States right now.
Which is really sad because some of us are doing the right thing and do want to have vacations at some point. So please, other countries, let me in.
Yeah, but you have Disney World. Disney World is opened up, so
Is it? Is
Disney World
open?
and they're both open, yeah.
Would you even dare to go to Disney World in the US right now?
No.
I mean, they made this cute commercial where all the staff is wearing masks and welcoming you, so actually looked a bit creepy, not gonna lie.
This is a bit dumb, but I know somebody that recently had to move to Florida because of their job. And they moved a few weeks ago. And they needed to get COVID testing done and do self-quarantine. And they went to do it. But then apparently there's somebody selling fake COVID tests so that you don't have to do it.
Of course there is.
Of course.
Thank you, Florida.
Just the worst.
Florida, man. Damn it. All right, so welcome to the Global Exclusive Podcast where we talk about the FFBE and not the state of the world.
I mean, it is the global exclusive podcast, so we are bringing our global sense into this, right?
Yeah.
I think Hazard has our sponsor today.
He does?
No.
I think he does.
Our sponsor this week is Evasion.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
You have
okay.
to use it all the time, and it's really sad.
Oh.
This is the sound of a broken man who couldn't, who had to bend his knee.
Oh, yeah.
But Hazard, you didn't have
yes
to use
and
an
no.
evade tank, right?
That's correct. So I have kept my principles. I did not use an evade tank to beat Behemoth. So this week we've got the Behemoth K trial, which is really exciting. It's long awaited. Basically, JP's been telling us since whenever it came out that we're no match for it, and it's really terrible. I beat it as about 1 minute before we started recording this, and it took me 28 turns. So that was exciting. We'll talk about the Behemoth K trial a little bit later in the podcast. We've also got a banner this week. It's Final Fantasy 9, which excites me. It's the Angel of Death Kuja and Garland. And also we get yet another Zidane, Knight of Pluto Zidane, which my favorite part is at the end of the win animation. My favorite character in all of FFBE, or all of Final Fantasy, is Blank from Final Fantasy 9. He shows up and gives some bones to Zidane at the end, so it's pretty cool. So
He bones Zidane?
No, I was very specific in my language.
Does he
I'm
get
sorry.
petrified?
English is not my primary language. It could be that.
That's okay. We'll give you the pass.
I hope
After
he gets
28
petrified.
episodes,
Never give Barros the pass. He gets a fail.
What pass are we giving Barros?
no passes. You shall not pass.
Oh shit!
So, yeah.
I just realized how good Pluto Zidane's STMR is. Huh. Let's
No,
talk
it's
about
actually-
that later.
It's actually pretty exciting. Yeah, we are, as I said, we are missing Muspel this week, so someone else will have to lead into the units by starting with. So Angel of Death Kuja.
Okay. Wait, can I be Muspel? I can do a Muspel.
Okay, go for it.
Fine.
Can each take a turn for one unit.
So
Actually, Barros, you told me that you already did a Muspel earlier.
I did Muspel definitely. Yes. So I'm now also the expert on doing Muspel.
Take it away.
So
Oh, God.
Kuja is a mage. He has 2 elements and does absolutely ridiculous amounts of damage. Next
But
unit.
because mages are bad, you don't pull for mages, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But he's a mage and he sucks. You forgot that point.
I mean, he sucks. Like,
Yeah.
okay, he does more than twice the damage of our strongest physical damage dealer right now. But who the fuck cares? He's a mage. He has shit gear options. He can never use killers. Like, come on.
I mean, it's not like he has 150% true dual wield in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, no, his gearing still sucks. And, like, hey, he can't even equip espers. And he can get killers from... He can't get killers from them.
There's also his 200% innate demon and undead killers. Nothing to see there.
Nah,
Yeah.
still not impressed.
All right, I will stand. I'll stand for Kuja. All right, he's got Chaos Wave Awaken, which is absolutely awful to chain, but he does do an insane amount of damage.
Yeah.
He does increase his own magic by 300%, which can't be dispelled. He's got 150% innate dual wield, which is nice, although his TMR is only 25%. Come on, like really? Like we've got Awakened Onion Knight, freaking Warrior of Light Barts. We've got even Laswell, what's his name? Aloha Laswell's TMRs are all
he's
like
a mage.
significantly better.
Yeah, he's a
I mean,
mage still.
come
Mages
on.
don't get true dual wield on TMRs.
It also
I
has 40% magic and 25% limit damage on it, so it is kind of stacked with stats, even if it is 25% true to wood. Like, you would
And it's
you're not
stackable,
going to
right?
mind stacking two of them, because it is
Yeah,
stackable.
exactly.
Yeah, so if you actually pull two Kujas naturally, you can cap true dual wield with just two of his TMRs. And
You
if
could
you
be like
poison him,
me.
then good luck to you.
So you guys could be like me and do the 12k for Kuja and get nothing. So that's
Yeah.
exciting.
That's
So
the
I'll
story
have
of the
a-
12Ks lately, I'm gonna say.
But
Yeah.
Hazard, would you have preferred that you got nothing or a Garland? Because I think a Garland would have been the worst outcome.
Ooh, nice segue into Garland.
I did get a Garland from the free Final Fantasy 9 ticket, so checkmate.
Wow, you get a lot of like units from the
Congrats.
free tickets.
I do, but unfortunately this time it did not work out in my favor. But
Yeah.
so Kuja is the only villain so far that's gotten a CG. This is when I knew in JP that CG Ramza got skipped. And I just want to say, release him, you cowards. Release him. For the love of God.
Yeah, such a shame.
Just give us CG Ramza.
After Kuja was CG Envy Cloud, so they sort of went back to protagonist for a second, and then have done none of either of them for like 3 or 4 months now, other than more FFBE CGs.
They did
'Cause
do
I-
Furion recently. Envy Furion just came
Wait,
out.
no,
Oh
that's
right,
not
he got
true.
another one.
And
But
they-
Envy
they
Furion
did-
doesn't have a CG. Envy Furion doesn't have
Not
a CG.
not yet. It's one of the ones that's delayed, I think.
Wait, but why didn't
Interesting.
Gabranth get one? Gabranth has an Envy.
I don't know. I guess he's not a protagonist.
No,
That
but he's an
is
antagonist. I thought they
true.
were doing antagonists. Like Kuja and Sephiroth were
Who
slated.
knows? It's Alan. They're not consistent.
It could be the fact that there is just no 3D animation already existing with Gebranth in it. That's like good enough. Maybe they could have taken something
'cause
from
they
like
generally-
FF12.
They use the Dissidia models for most of them, don't they?
But that's a terrible excuse if you really think about
It
it.
is.
Because Cleo and Daisy, those didn't exist, but they made the
Right.
effort
Yeah.
to create it.
Yeah, but who the fuck is gonna pull for Garland or Gebranth? I'm sorry.
I wrote this in a post about CG Ramza last week, and I wrote about this. Like, the idea is the idea that they couldn't do a CG for Ramza because they didn't have a 3D model already existing is silly. I mean, they have a Dissidia model
They
for
do
him.
have them.
I guess it's not the. There's apparently people are telling me that it's not the same model that they've been using for the other protagonists. And apparently, whatever Ramza has isn't the one that they were looking for. But as Shadow said, we've got Cleome, we've got Daisy, we've got Elena that they clearly had no problems doing. They clearly had no problems making CGs out of thin air. So
Yeah, but the question is like, the return on investment. Are enough people gonna pull on a CG Ramza or not? And maybe
Yes.
they're just saying no.
They
As
will.
listen,
make it
Nasta is
worthwhile
currently
all by
sitting-
itself.
Nasta by himself will, and
Burn
Nasta between
300
Nasta and me,
tickets.
well, he has like 2,500 tickets dedicated to CG Ramza, but he's never appeared. The idea that Final Fantasy Tactics is somehow less popular than like freaking Daisy? Are you kidding me?
I mean,
There's
I can.
it all- There's also the thing is that if Alum wanted to be consistent, like when they first released CG Lightning, they quote unquote, they did, like, I kid you not, they said they're going to do it for every Final Fantasy protagonist. So if Ramza is not a Final Fantasy protagonist, I don't know what he is. Like, it's just for
Well, let's
consistency's
also
sake.
say that technically Delita is the protagonist of FFT.
All right, well, that's partially true. They're both protagonists, but they have fulfill very different roles. But Rams is the main character of the story because the story focuses on how history has forgotten the true hero of the Lion War, right? That Delita is celebrated as the hero that brought everyone back, that defeated the two nations and the church and brought peace, 1,000 years of peace to the realm. But Ramza is the forgotten hero, right? He's
Yeah,
the true
I would
hero.
say
That's
Sid
the
is
idea.
actually the forgotten hero because he ends up one-shotting everything at
He
the end of the
just
game.
Yeah, Sid just face rolls the entire game. But
He's like,
why do
oh,
you
here
think
you
I
go.
am not excited to see a
you
CG
want-
Sid?
More protagonist inconsistency. There's the whole thing of like Sarah from 13.2 got one, but Yuna from 10.2 didn't.
Right. And they said originally we're only going to do the ones from the numbered series, but then you get Ace, right? And then they got Kuja, who just got released today, and
Yeah,
he's
like,
clearly
Kuja
not a
is from a numbered
protagonist.
series.
It's nice
But he's
how
not a
our
protagonist.
Kuja discussion became a tactics discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
okay.
it's not just tactics. Like Final Fantasy VI also needs a few more. Like that, the last banner we had was the Terra, Locke, Shadow.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, Cotton. We're getting NV Terra.
Okay, but where is Celis? Where's the 7-star Celis? Come on.
Yeah. Where's my
Okay,
CG Kefka?
All right,
Really?
Kefka I could do
That's
without.
how you
but
pronounce it? Huh. It's
Well,
always
How
been
else do you
Celeste.
pronounce Kefka?
No,
Oh.
I thought he said Celeste. I've
I
always
said,
said
well, I
Celeste.
said Celis, but Celis, I think Celeste, Celis, I think are both probably fine.
Okay.
Celery, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Leaving it. I'm leaving it.
Actually, like that's the character I like the least in all of the game. Just gonna put that out there. Yeah, I hate her. Yeah, I just
No, come on. She's way cooler than like Cyan. Come on.
No, what? Oh my! You take that back, you filthy mongrel.
Cyan is like bottom 3.
How boring is this banner that we're talking about tactics and FF6?
No, all right, this
listen,
banner
I
actually
have a thing
isn't
about
boring.
I'm
Kuja.
waiting for an opportunity to talk a bit about Kuja's
Yeah,
actual
I-
kit.
I mean,
Let
there's
me-
literally
let me
nothing
help
much
you
to
bring
say
you
about
back,
this
Dream.
banner.
Alright, let's
It's
talk
two
about the kit,
magic
and then
DPS.
let's-
It's two
Oh,
magic DPS, one
Cotton's
who does
talking.
double, one of the other. That's literally all there is to say about this banner.
What happened to low-powered cotton train?
I know. I was expecting a low power cotton train and I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, this is a fucking
All right,
railgun
so
cotton train.
let's talk about Kuja's kit, and then let's also talk about why, like, his place in the meta right now, and with upcoming NV.
Yeah, but since we're on off topic, can I just ask a question about
We are no
Kuja?
longer off topic.
No, I
No,
need to
Pharaoh,
ask a question
stop.
about
We're gonna
Kuja.
get on topic. We're gonna get on topic, okay? Pharaoh, stop.
Okay,
on
fine.
That
topic, what
varies.
is on topic?
So Kuja's kit is actually quite interesting in that his like biggest move basically costs his whole LB crysts. And
He's basically Bahamut Dark Fina done right.
yeah,
Because, like, he doesn't have the horrific MP problems she does. He has good innate true dual wield. His magic buff doesn't frickin' drop a turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you mean Ali actually finally learned how to set up magic buffs properly?
Yeah, it's like, yes, this is how durations work in your game that you made.
it's
Dream.
really
And
like
Dream is this frustrated because he
some
needs to
point-
make like the rotations every week for every unit to kind of calculate their
At
damage.
some point, ALM finally figured out how to design units, and they got it with Kuja. And this is just a tinfoil hat theory, but like now that they got it with Kuja, they needed to introduce another element with Brave Shift, so that's why they released MV. They're like,
Yes,
we finally
finished
understand
this
it.
tier.
Yeah, we've mastered the craft. We need to go to the next level.
Now we split half their kit between their regular form and their Brave Shift form.
And make sure to put a limit on the Brave Shift form, how many times you could do it in the game or something.
Does it just me, or does it seem really obvious that the different people that are in charge of different things have very, very different skill levels? Like, enhancement guy in global is A plus most of the time, and
Sometimes.
well, I feel like whenever he gets I think he gets overruled by people above him sometimes.
Most likely.
Because he's come out with some really awesome stuff, and then like the next batch will be like super watered down as a result because he probably got in trouble with his superiors.
But I have a tinfoil hat theory about that. Okay, so I think there is no enhancement guy. I think that what happens is that we have the Gumi spy, and I think the Gumi spy is actually a member of our community. I'm not gonna say who, but an upstanding member of our community. And
Are you saying it's Hazard?
no,
It's
I'm
Muspel,
not.
right?
No, it's not Muspel. It's not Hazard. And what happens is that when they need to get some goodwill, they reach out to the spy to ask for enhancements. And the spy gives them like a decent enhancement package. That's why we don't see it all the time. That's my theory.
I'm going to counter and say I do think there's an enhancement guy. And I think that many people that work for the company are monitoring Reddit and Discord and Facebook and all the community for ideas. And like we've seen enhancements, like ones I've posted, in fact, that have been basically copied and pasted into the game. And we've seen, when we see a fire on Reddit, that's when we get a response from the producers. I absolutely think that they listen to us and are monitoring these types of things. Now, do they always do what we say? Absolutely not. But I think they do glean some good ideas from the community every once in a while, and they implement them in the game. And I think there's an enhancement guy that's responsible for that specific thing. Now, Alim's guy who creates original kits is the worst at his job. Absolute worst. Like, they're just so bad. Every once in a while, like a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. But you just look at most of the kits and the turn durations and the different modifier increases all over the place. It's just a complete mess most of the time.
I don't want to disagree either.
Here's my tinfoil hat theory. What if instead of an enhancement guy, there's an enhancement girl?
Ooh.
All right.
How about that?
Thinking out
That's
of
fine.
the box.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I don't want to offend anybody by saying enhancement guy. That's just kind of the nickname that this person's gotten, but it could very well be a female. Yeah. In fact, I almost think it might be.
If you were still here for Kuja discussion, then basically just try use Warfare or Crusade as much as possible, and you'll do a shit ton of damage.
Yeah, that's basically it.
I mean,
So
you
let's
cannot. Let's put it this way: you cannot not do a shit ton of damage with Kuja. However the fuck you use him, as long as you use damage dealing skills.
Yeah, he's pretty hard to screw up.
I mean, unless you're doing like his Glorious Ascension, because then you're doing standard damage.
I wonder, does he have improvements on that? No, he doesn't. Okay.
So I have a question about Kuja. Since we're done talking about his fucking kit, because it's not that exciting. He just does a shit ton of damage. So who else thought Kuja was a game? Who else thought Kuja was a girl when they played
No one.
FF9 for the first time?
Not me.
If I even played FF9 at all.
Did you play with no sound on and didn't read any of the words?
No. I mean, I figured it out quite quickly. But
was
like
blindfolded
the
and
first few
had
times I played FF9 and Kuja appeared, I mean, this was around the time Britney Spears was popular. Of course, I assumed he was a girl. He has that whole like revealed belly thing going on. Come on.
Nope.
Really?
Yeah.
Just me?
SMH, Gumi releasing all these scantily clad fan service units.
Yeah, it's like, I guess I was just a thirsty teenager or something. I don't know.
You're still a thirsty
But when is
whatever
Barros
you are.
not a thirsty teenager?
Okay, fine. I thought it was a common thing.
It was early signs of things we've seen later on.
Okay. I'm now bringing up a picture from his like CG in game. Like he has this long flowing hair, this revealing clothing. Come on.
Nope.
Well, he's a narcissist, right? So what other narcissist do we know from the Final Fantasy universe that thinks he's very, very beautiful? Seacard?
Kefka?
Sephiroth? Yeah, they all have... Even Cecil, for some reason, thinks he's got great hair. But, all right. So let's talk about Kuja's actual place in the meta, though, because he does a crap ton of damage, basically no matter how you use him.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people skipping him because a lot of people are expecting the Neovisions announcement at the live stream that's coming up in like 2 weeks, I think it is. 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think it's
A
like
week,
1 week,
actually.
or at least it will be.
Yeah.
Is it the
About a
16th?
week, I think.
This
Yeah.
goes up.
Yeah.
Is it the 16th or 17th?
I think it's, well,
16th,
depending on your
I think.
time zone.
Like
Yeah.
16th as in American time.
I
the
think it
only
would
time
be
that matters.
15th or 16th. Because it's the 16th for me, and I'm like at the forefront of time zones.
The cutting edge of time zones. New
Basically.
Zealand.
The last stop.
Well, I pulled for Kuja because I pull for units I like. I like Final Fantasy IX. Hearing the music, like if you go to the summon screen and listen to the Kuja's music, it's really good. It brings back the memories. And the MK event is when you're fighting the dragons in midair that Kuja's sending at you against all your airships. And that music's also really good. So definitely if you haven't, turn it on and listen to it and enjoy it. It's a great soundtrack. I said this last time on Final Fantasy IX, but it really is. It's just really eclectic, really nice soundtrack.
It is.
I want to
also,
argue that Final Fantasy IX probably has the best soundtrack out of all the Final Fantasy games.
It's
it
definitely
has a really good one.
Yeah,
gonna say.
It's very diverse. It's like some of the soundtracks are very kind of one style, but Final Fantasy IX is all over the place with the different styles, and it's really well done. It's kind of psychedelic at certain points too.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not a Microsoft employee, but Final Fantasy IX is included in the Game Pass for PC subscription. So, like for $5, you can be playing this amazing game. Just saying.
Well, technically, the Game Pass is $1 for the first month, and
Really?
I can
It
guarantee
still is.
you can beat that thing in a month. It's easy, really.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, let's talk real quick about Brumal Cores, which is Kuja's STMR. So it's a rod, 175 magic, and it's got an effect that's called Angel's Magic. It improves your fire and light physical and magic damage by 10% for basically ever and can't be dispelled. So it permanently increases your fire and light damage. So this is something interesting that we haven't seen before. You also see it on Behemoth that we'll talk about, but one of the rewards on Behemoth is a beast-specific mitigation. So that's something that is kind of new for us. I think is kind of interesting.
Several new effects were sort of introduced in the data this week, and we'll start seeing them from NV units and a couple others before that, like Daisy and Poppy were at least expected to have them. Who knows when they'll actually show up.
Yeah. Hopefully never.
The mechanics
Hopefully
are
never.
expanding a bit.
Wait,
Hopefully,
I have
never.
does the Angel's Magic passive, does that apply after everything at the very end, like variants?
Yeah, it's a final multiplier.
Oh, it's the final one. Okay. It's
So,
Speaking of STMRs and TMRs, that's the only thing worth talking about for Garland, I think.
yeah, definitely. Like he
Because
does. He does
he
decent
does
damage.
what?
He does less than Ace and Rem slightly, but other than that, he's so. Hey, can someone else do a Muspel now?
All right, so
So,
you guys remember?
Alright, can I try it?
Can
Let me
everyone
try
do a
this.
Muspel now?
So, Garland is a typical example of a mage, actually, a really bad mage, one that you should never pull. If you pull Garland instead of Kuja on the banner, I feel really sorry for you because you know what? He does half of Kuja's damage, and that is bad.
Yeah.
Did I cover
It's
everything?
basically, you guys remember the Axstar Xeno banner?
Yeah.
It's basically just like that, where Garland is the Axstar on the banner. He's cucked by the other unit, like just
Yeah.
completely destroyed in damage. He does fire and dark, whereas Kuja does fire and light. And he does have a 70% spirit and defense AoE break. That's not
No,
too
don't try to
terrible.
make him sound decent. Like,
I'm
just
trying,
forget
I'm
about
just-
it. He's trash. Don't pull
He has,
for him.
okay,
I'm
he
sorry.
does have one niche for some reason. He's got a lot of different moves that deal with stop. And his TMR, in fact, has 50% stop resist and 40% magic, which is, I think, the first
No,
TMR.
100% would be far too broken.
Well, I think he's got 50% in his kit already, so it's good for him. And maybe Mercenary Ramza. But if you're using him as a mage
Yeah.
in 2020,
You can combo it with Shiva if you don't need
yeah,
damage, I
it's
guess.
just it's tough. It's tough to argue it's good for anybody but him.
No, let's just leave it at that. Like,
Okay.
Goodbye,
Yeah,
Garland. Goodbye.
He has limit damage buffs for his elementless magic limit, so it's absolutely worthless.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything that could be used in DV effectively, I don't think either.
130% Imperial on a cooldown, I guess. That's
Oh, that's true.
a thing.
Yeah, but it's like
Nah,
just
nah,
10%
guys.
of most guys, which is really not worth bringing
Yeah,
a trash unit
it's really
for.
not
Actually-
going to be worth the slot.
Well, the thing is, if you were looking for fire or dark damage, he does have permanent triple cast, and it is single target Chaos Wave Awakened. So you guys all know about the Chaos Wave Awakened fiasco with DV
Canceling,
that they,
yeah.
for some reason, just refused to fix or listen to us about. But yeah, that's the thing.
I mean, he could work with Umber Dark Final, couldn't he? Since he has quad cast unlock and everything.
Well, that doesn't matter, but I think you guys are trying really hard to make him sound like he's a decent unit, when in reality he's terrible.
not.
Well,
I'm
he is
saying
the
they
banner
stop
troll.
He
trying
still
to make
does,
him
like,
sound
we are
good.
all
He's
aware
shit.
of it.
Just leave
no,
him.
he still does a little bit less than Ace. Like, it's not awful damage. It's just compared to Kuja, it's awful.
No, but I think one thing that needs to be pointed out is that Ace and Rem, especially Ace, is that they have their damage isn't the whole story, right? Ace has
They're
the
so much more useful beyond.
yeah, the whole physical killers aspect, the fact that he has Mirage and other support abilities. Same with Rem. Like that, if Garland is doing the same damage as them, that's absolutely terrible.
So, Pluto Knight Zidane.
Well, let's talk about Garland's actual STMR, though, because that one is pretty good. It's an accessory
Oh, right.
with 60 flat magic and 30% resist to all elements. So that can see some use for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely the best part of him.
It's
It's
Awakened
basically-
Rain's STMR with the other stats moved into magic.
Yeah, basically.
It's very close, yeah. I still need that stupid STMR, please.
I have two of them.
I have one of them.
How do you have two of them?
Yeah, I decided I was gonna save up for Envy Rain, but then I decided he's probably not gonna get it. So
Yeah. All right, so Knight of Pluto Zidane.
Yeah.
We can all agree.
He has some slightly interesting things, I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm just so sad that he doesn't have a turn 1 provoke, because otherwise he would be a really cool unit.
He does, doesn't he?
He does?
Because he has a passive that gives him
Oh,
a
he
use of
does
Pluto Steel
get
at the start
Pluto
of
Steel.
battle.
That is true. Oh,
Yeah, so yeah, he can evade provoke pretty well. He's got 30% innate evasion and active provokes. He has an AoE 1-stack Mirage, which is solid alongside other stuff. Bolting Strike, Stardust Ray support, Chains, which can do pretty poor damage, and like he only favors wind innately, so not too much versatility there.
does have a dual stack Mirage, doesn't he? Oh, it's only the caster. Okay.
Yeah, it's just him.
His AoE one's just single stack.
He does have a dual stack, but it's the cooldown. Super long.
So his cooldown does
Yeah,
have
8 turns.
50% mitigation for all allies for 3 turns.
Oh yeah,
So that's
turn 1.
and it's turn 1. So if you're using him as a provoke, evade, mirage, chain bot, whatever, he's got some utility there. What is
No,
nice
but
is
the
he
thing
does
is
have
the 2-hit Mirage can't be dual casted with anything, so you can't really use it on turn 1 and make him provoke.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
Unless you passive provoke him, but yeah.
Yeah.
pretty easy to passive provoke, I think.
I guess the problem here is that evasion gear is much more, it's much more freely available than provoke gear. So the fact that he's pretty cool because he has 30% innate evasion, so he can you can get him to 100% evasion quickly, and you can provoke with him on turn 1. So it's kind of like here is a unit if you don't have the draw gear, but he does solve a smaller problem. A unit with 80% draw is a better unit to solve your evasion provoke tank problems.
Yeah.
His STMR
So
is really good too.
overall, he's probably more useful or more likely to be used at least than the
Fran?
3 pure damage dealers like Fran and the other guys.
Kadaj.
but he's certainly not on the level of someone like Lightning or Machina.
Yeah.
Exactly.
His actual
But yeah,
his TMR, if we want to talk about that real quick, it's if you meet the requirements, it's 30% attack no matter what, and then attack and defense 20% when equipped with a dagger and or when equipped with the sword. So you can get up to 70% attack and 40% defense if you can get those 2 weapons, which is actually really, really good for TMR if you find it useful.
It is.
pretty high.
This
if
is
you've got-
excellent for Zidane, for instance.
Yeah, CG Zidane or Ketone or even someone like Warhero Reagan, someone who could use dagger and
There
sword.
are not that many units that will want to use a dagger for ideal damage, unless maybe you have regular Zidane's STMR. But yeah, it's solid enough.
I'll be
The
using it.
STMR is the more interesting one.
No.
I mean, it's a lot of stats. Let's put it that
Okay.
way. If you're lacking gear, it's still 70% attack on a super easy to get TMR.
What's funny about the STMR is when I first saw it, I thought it was a materia, and I'm like, holy crap, this is
Oh
amazing.
yeah, Jesus.
Oh yeah, that would be nuts.
Because it's 20% physical evasion, 20% magical evasion, 50% attack when equipped with the dagger, and 50% attack when equipped with the sword. And I was like, this is a bonkers STMR materia. And then I looked, and it's a light shield. So, so if you're equipping this...
Suddenly, the attack makes no sense at all.
Yeah...
The main aspect, the
Right.
main thing you want on his STMR is the evasion, because 20%
Right.
evasion on the shield without any penalties.
Yeah, it's a shield with 20% of it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's enough to make it good.
Our strongest contender is Bosch's TMR, right?
No,
Yeah,
there
that's a
was a
10%.
limited one.
There's curse shield, which is 20%. I think heavy shield, but it inflicts some ailments and is like reduces your fire, ice, and lightning resist.
Yeah, but
So it has drawbacks.
and one huge benefit of it being a light shield is that several of our healers can actually innately equip light shields. So this is like, for instance, for the Behemoth K trial, this can make it easier for you to get to 100% evade with a healer, for instance. I mean, 20% is a huge deal.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
light shield is a slightly better slot than heavy for supports as well. So yeah, it's a really solid STMR.
And if you play the event, it's free. So that's exciting.
Exactly.
Yep.
So and I think he's exciting. Like the thing about so we've been a bit spoiled with the free units lately because we've been getting free units that are incredibly useful, like Machina, like Lightning, etc. Right? But I do like I really appreciate the fact that Zidane is still a really like there is a thought behind his design. So they designed him kind of to be this support chaining evade tank that also can do like AoE Mirage. So it's kind of like a perfect pair with CG Zidane, but the problem is, CG Zidane is not really meta anymore, I guess.
And his damage is not really meta
Well,
either.
he can still clear the latest trial,
That is true.
Yeah.
which is what we can possibly move on to now if everyone's done.
I think we're good, yeah. So, Behemoth K, which is the weirdest name.
The big anticipated boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still don't get the K in the
It's
name.
like a
think-
DJ name.
Where does that
Didn't
come
JP
from?
call him Kevin? Behemoth Kevin?
Yeah.
But is
That's
it
just like a community nickname, but
It's supposed to be
like,
king.
There's nothing in the game that suggests
pretty sure
that.
K is supposed to be king, but
Really? Why is
Yeah.
it okay?
he's like
I
the
mean,
king of all.
But then why isn't he
I'm
just
pretty
called
sure
Behemoth
it's not.
King?
Okay. Yeah, it could be, I guess, in Japanese as well. I don't know. I mean, they could have called him Behemoth K to be Behemoth King even in Japanese, but he is called Behemoth
Yeah.
K in JP as well, which is where Kevin came from.
So
Basically, it's a weird name.
Yeah.
So, Behemoth K.
Okay, you guys remember a Guyon?
Yeah. Yeah, we remember a guy on Hazard, please.
And it took like 4.5 hours to clear. So this is probably the fight that's, I wouldn't say most similar to it necessarily, but it's like, this is a pretty good challenge, and it is definitely a high gear check. And it was released in JP supposedly as kind of a, you're going to need Neovision units to complete this, or close to it. You can do it with the current units and even with CG Zidane, but there's a couple different ways to clear it, and this really pissed off a lot of JP players for one specific reason, which is he's got break resistance to attack, defense, magic, and spirit, 30%. So it's very difficult for a breaker that doesn't have a multicast break to defeat this. Luckily, if you were here for the Type 0 event and got Machina is actually an excellent candidate to do this because he can double or triple cast his breaks and he can dispel and break at the same time. So that's who I use to clear him. But you basically need your entire team to either be evasion, except your tank, 100% evasion, or you need to be like spamming Golem Esper every single turn. He does an incredible amount of damage, physical and magic, to the entire party, and he's tanky as hell.
Yeah, the final option is kind of using Madame Adele, I guess. She can. That's the hybrid solution of not spamming Golem.
I mean, that that still kind of involves evade on everyone else, though.
But it's one less unit
I find
to
it
gear.
funny when there's things listed as like no evade clears when it's everyone but the damage dealer and the magic tank is evade.
Right.
Still.
And the reason that works is Untamed Wolf Adele has a self 75% physical mitigation buff that she casts as a counter. So that's kind of how you get to that. But I hear some people were trying to get Elena to beat this just through the bulk strategy, but I haven't heard any successes yet.
No, I haven't heard any
It is day
it
one.
wasn't enough, yeah. I think the only way you could run the bulk strategy logically is, so far from what I heard in JP, is by summoning Golem every single turn.
I think it was possible without it, but it was at least using like Poppy for having basically 45% physical mitigation and 45-50% general mitigation, and just gearing everyone to be very bulky.
Or was it Daisy with a 4 out of 6 turns, 70% physical mitigation?
Oh yeah, you can kind of simulate the golem strategy with like Daisy and Renora as well, for like, because they maintain the same 70% physmit as golem does, but that's still kind of the golem strategy.
But one thing that annoys me about this trial is what you said in the beginning, Hazard, kind of like, okay, so it's difficult, but it's difficult in the gear check way. I was actually talking about this with Sinzar in our Discord. Oh, and by the way, I want to plug our Discord, so listeners, get into our Discord, because we
As usual.
Yeah, no, we have a great community. We're like, if you
we
like
have
DV,
Sinza.
Oh no.
I mean,
You
if you like DV, we have some of the biggest DV players in our Discord that give strats and help to anyone that asks, especially me. So it's like, wow, just join. You know, there's always a link at somewhere in our description. So wherever you're listening, you know, like we're on so many places, but do join. Anyway.
And we have Sinza. Sinza is a regular on our Discord.
Come on, don't use Sinzar to get people to our Discord.
Come on.
Yeah. We're not allowed to advertise Sinzar anymore because he didn't put me in the mega thread. Because I was the 4th ace clear by like 4 minutes.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And I didn't get that sweet added.
But okay, but listen, I want to say something about the difficulty though. So this was a bit of a segue, but the difficulty is a gear check. So it's not like there are no super advanced mechanics in the fight that you need to react to. There are no thresholds you need to really think about in that sense. It's just that you just need to have this gear. You either need to have evasion on everyone and a really bulky magic tank, or...
I mean, there are thresholds. There's the death. Either single target,
I think
dispel, and death on thresholds.
It's definitely is a gear check, but I would kind of otherwise disagree because, you're planning around the deaths and the meteor phase from 50
but
to
that's not
30%.
reacting to anything. Like, you know about the deaths, so ahead of
But
time
that's still
you're kind
planning
of
to
preparing
it.
for it.
Yeah, but everything you plan for, if you don't plan for it, you usually die. That's how all trials work these days. So I think it's kind of a bit silly to draw arbitrary lines.
No, but I prefer
around that
where
kind
the
of
fight
stuff.
kind of, is a puzzle. Where, like, hey, this turn, you need to react to something that happened that you didn't know was going to happen. Whereas this is more like, hey, you put the right units in the right slots and you're ready for the deaths, kind of.
Then do the trial without looking at the wiki. There you have
When you
it.
have full AI, nothing's going to happen without you knowing that it's going to happen.
That's not true.
If anything, those puzzle fights are the ones that require more of, like, looking at a guide. Like, say, Asura's stances. But say, like, reacting to Asura's stances, that's the sort of puzzle fight, and that basically requires having a guide open in front of you to
but let
do
me
it.
put it this way. I mean, yes, you're right. You are right. Those require you more to read the wiki while you're doing the fight. But okay, we're getting these units with amazing kits, with so much roll compression, that can do so many cool things. Like, all of you have a favorite unit and you're thinking, oh my god, this unit can do all these different things and has this niche. But the thing is, this fight doesn't let you utilize this at all. Like, this fight doesn't let you use these niches, these cool stuff that your unit can do. Oh, he can do water damage, and that is really good for this one time that I have to do water damage. No, this fight just has you doing damage and healing and done.
I mean, I don't know that you're basically describing every trial so far, though.
No, I'm not.
I kind of disagree.
I mean, so one thing that
well.
Sinzar said, I can just share it here, is that, for instance, if you're not planning on OTKing the upcoming score of Shinryu, right? Yeah, Scorn of Shinryu trial. With Tifa, that's actually a very interesting puzzle trial in that sense, where you do have to react in the fight, and you actually get to use these diverse kits that your units have. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it's a matter of like ticking X boxes each turn for Shinryu and stuff. Where I kind of like for this, I can more like just know how the fight works and then go into it without looking at resources and stuff and checking for specific turn counts and whatnot.
That is, I'm gonna say that is actually really good. I like the fact that you don't read. I mean, okay, there is a little bit of a turn thing. We can say that like if you cross, especially into the 50% to 30% threshold, that's kind of the thing about this fight. There is a threshold or a phase between 50 to 30% in the fight, where Behemoth K starts throwing meteors, and that hurts a lot.
Okay. Do you guys want to actually discuss what this fight needs you to prepare for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the most
First of all,
important thing you really need on this fight
Oh my
For the
god.
love of
God.
please.
Cotton.
is the cotton train.
Let Hazard speak.
No,
Wait for
Cotton,
10
just let...
minutes. We can discuss it, but it doesn't have to be me, but someone has to. Let's talk about the whole thing, and then we can discuss. So,
Sorry, so
Alright, so-
Hazard, lead on.
okay. All right, so Behemoth K, you've got a couple different things. Number one, there's a lot of, as we talked about, the AoE physical is insane. You either need insane bulk or 100% evasion on all of your units except your tank. Also, whatever element you're using to attack the boss with, he counters you, reduces your resistance to that element, counters you, and also buffs his own resistance to that element. So your magic tank needs to be geared for 220% resistance after buffs to that specific element. Also, if you're using Ring of the Lucii, that has holy counters, which are light damage. So you also have to have 220% light resist, and including the other element that you're using, right? So I use Ketone, so I was using fire damage. So I had 220% fire resist and light resist on the tank. You also have to have, and when you say a gear check, like when you say a bulky magic tank, my Charlotte is fully enhanced, has nothing but STMRs on her, and was getting railed in this fight regardless. It's
so
just
Charlotte was getting railed, you say?
Phrasing.
by damage, you moron.
Okay.
What are we talking about? You're the just the horny
This
teenager
is some
that
kind of like,
never stops.
I'm sorry, Hazard, but now you started Ladosian somewhere. Somebody is doing like a Behemoth K railing
I don't even
Charlotte
know what
somewhere.
that
I'm sorry.
Stop talking, Barris. Just stop.
Okay,
Behemoth.
Don't you mean
does a
stop
lot of
unzipping
damage.
Shadow?
it does a lot of damage. He also inflicts Blind and Confusion as a counter if you use a limit burst, I believe. So you need to
I think so.
you need to have Confusion and Blind Resist on at least anyone who's doing that, or you can also passive provoke it as well. He also does Heave, which is removes all your buffs and debuffs and instant KOs one enemy. So you're gonna want to have it goes by a specific slot, so it starts on slot 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6.
Yeah. So can I?
Yeah, if you want to talk about this.
I was going to say, yeah, I'll talk about a bit more about a couple things. Firstly, just with the the element magic counters, there is one way you can kind of get around them is if you have a unit who can alternate 3 different elements like every turn. I think Bahamut Dark Fina is the main candidate for this.
No,
You
wait, hold on,
basically-
Reed. Can I just interject there? Because I think that since the 30-turn mission is a lackluster reward, it's the active that nobody really cares about. I'm going to say every decent mage can do this fight that has 3 elements. So, like, you can even do it with Magitech Warrior Terra with Cycling.
Not necessarily though.
The thing is, if you're going for slow options, you could also just, only attack every 3rd turn, and sure, that'd work too, but
Yeah, but still.
the alternating lets you get more damage out, because the Imperial, and Resist buff are short enough durations, and combined with the fact that if you don't use it twice in a row, he won't attack again, because the Imperial is after the damage, so it's only an issue the second time he uses that, so if you have him only using each element every 3rd turn, your tank only needs 100% resist instead of 220, and you don't have to dispel his resist buffs. So that can be a pretty viable way of getting around that.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, Virus, is that you don't want to go too slow because that means spending more turns in his 50% to 30% phase.
Yeah,
His
I mean, it
phase-
depends definitely on how bulky you are. It does.
His phase 2 is right now almost impossible, I think, for most people to survive without their tank at least dying once. Because the high roll, if there's a high roll, and I put in a lot of different numbers in it, there's a good chance that most players like Cecil will die. And if you take a Charlotte, that obviously she'll die too. So you don't
My
want to
Charlotte didn't
stay.
die.
You don't want to
but he
stay in
meant the high
phase
roll.
2
Like,
very
you
long.
can die.
Yeah.
Like if you high roll, she's definitely gonna die.
Yeah.
And
What do you mean by high roll? Can you explain what you mean?
Well, basically, Cecil and Charlotte can live with their like 70 or 75% magic mitt cooldowns, but that you only have about 2 turns there, so you need to get through it quite quickly. Otherwise, turns where those are down, then yes, they are probably going to get floored on the even turns.
Yeah.
so when those
I had to use that. Oh, sorry. Go for it, Shadow.
No, I was just saying that if 50, you don't want to stay in the 50% phase really long at all. It's between 50 and 30.
Yeah.
You want to get it out ASAP.
It's very dangerous.
You could be like me and fail to defense break every single turn between the 50 and 30% phase and have it take an ungodly amount of time. But I was actually lucky. So I took Dr. Aiden and I used his Magnus on one of the turns for Charlotte, and she didn't even, I think she barely broke through his Magnus barrier, which is pretty impressive. But I used her limit burst to put up her 50% mitt the turn right before I went into that phase. So I got him to 51%. And then I tried to burst, and I think it took me 4 turns, or maybe, I think it took me 4 turns, yeah. It wasn't too bad, but every turn is like, white knuckling. You're just hoping your tank survives. 'Cause it's just an insane amount of damage that's going into your tank. Even if you have the 220% resists up, even if you've got your 50% mitigation, 30 or 40% to physical and magic mitigation, and 75% breaks. It's just a lot of damage. It's just a very high-tuned trial. So, also he does poison on your whole team the whole time, so that's really exciting.
Yeah, if you don't resist buff that's going to be a minor annoyance. But I would say the other main mechanic to play around after the elements and just the general damage is the slot targeted deaths. And I'm just going to say that this is probably actually my favorite implementation of instant death as like an actual mechanic to fight around.
Yeah, agreed.
Because he does it every 15% that you damage him, and does it in slot order, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on each unit, and what was I going to say? Something.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I'll follow up with you because you're able to anticipate this, and what you really want to do is put death resist on your 2 most important units, which I believe are your tank and your breaker, because your breaker has to. If you want to do any damage, and you really need to, because I use Ketone. She does a significant amount of damage, and she's got Demon Killer and everything, but it still took me 27 turns, and that was with me because the boss, as I said, will increase their own resistance to that element you're fighting it with. So you need to debuff, or you need to dispel the boss, re-break him, and re-imperil him basically every single turn, except in that 50 to 30% phase. I think he doesn't do one of the things where he does this. So
yeah, his element stuff is turned off in that phase. But yeah, having the death resist on your tank is like kind of absolutely mandatory, because otherwise you've got a turn without cover because it dispels, so you can't re-raise through.
Yeah,
it.
And I'm gonna say I made the same
rough.
mistake as you, Hazard. Actually, I thought that like I'm gonna put it on the breaker and the tank, but I was told by a plug for our Discord, by the geniuses in our Discord, that actually what you need to do, like, you only use a turn of damage if your breaker dies, because you just don't have to dispel on the next turn. Whereas if your healer dies and your tank just lost 12k HP, you might wipe.
I mean, I just use an elixir on the tank.
Well, what another way you can avoid
I had
that
mine on my healer, and that worked
is
out
by
as well.
putting the people in the correct slots. So Slots 3 and 4 are where you really want people not dying, because that's when you're in that 50 to 30% kind of range. It's 55%, 40. So I put my breaker in slot 3 and my tank in slot 4, and I had both of them with death resist. So during that critical phase, I didn't have anybody getting dispelled and KO'd. So that was really key for me. But you can play it a bunch of ways. So I put my healer in slot 1, so he died super early on, and on a turn that I could anticipate the damage and knew I was kind of in a good spot. So you just have to plan for it, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that you can plan for it, because it's based on thresholds. It's completely controllable. Because it's slotted, it's predictable. You can like counter against it because it's not unresistible, so you can gear. But because it's not provocable just onto one slot, you can't just completely trivialize it. So I think it's basically the best balance of the different ways it can be implemented for like actually having an impact on the fight, but not being just a pain to deal with.
I agree. I mean, it's not like other fights where, I just lost my breaker on the turn where the breaks are wearing out. Well, shit.
Yeah. Like Shinryu's death.
So I do agree. So should we talk a bit about what we used to clear the trial with?
Yeah, let's go over our team comps just quickly. Or first, Cotton.
But actually, come to think of it, like this fight is really one that you need to plan out beforehand. Like, if you're going in completely blind with no idea of what to expect, you are going to wipe. But if you know what's coming, you know how to build it properly, to build your team properly, you can calculate like whether your tank survives or not. Like, it's actually more straightforward than some of the random trials.
Isn't this true for most trials? Like, if you go in most trials blind, you're probably just going to wipe because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but I think what Cotton is saying is that
Sometimes.
other trials require a lot more energy in the trial as well, compared to this. Like, you don't... Like kind of, if you're planned and set up, you don't really have to do much more than just do your shit every turn, and you're kind of good.
Yeah.
I actually really liked the design of this fight for the most part, besides the break resist nonsense. I really don't think that's a great idea. I think it's too
let's
limiting.
touch on that a bit, actually, because like I just realized it's 30% per stat you're breaking. So he has 30% resistance. If you apply four of the breaks, you have 70% chance of landing each one of them, meaning that it's quite likely one of them won't land. Right. And if it's the attack or magic break that didn't land, well, shit.
And you can't just reset the game to reset the RNG. You have to do it in a specific way. And I'm not even sure exactly how to do it, but you have to do it out of order or like do a damaging move or something. But because I reset the game at one point, like 7 or 8 times, and it had the exact same break that wasn't being fulfilled.
Yeah, but that's a good question. So what you need to do is you need to invoke variance on your turn in a different way. So every move that has some type of variance, like a heal, like actually heals don't have variance.
Heal over time.
Right? Yeah, heals do.
Yeah, anything that has a variance. So normal attacks, any abilities that do damage, that actually can do a range of damage, those invoke the random number generator. And you can play around with putting X amount of those before your breaks to kind of shift the RNG you're getting.
Okay, now I get it.
I don't know if that quite works, because Rena's Limit Burst applies a heal over time, and that didn't reset.
No, but because the heal over time probably isn't seeded until it actually does the effect. So I think you need to actually do stuff that has a variance like immediately. So damaging skills... I think that heals also do, like a Kuraja does, because I used Kuraja several times to get a different outcome. Although it might not work if you're topped off or something, I don't know, but no one of us knows. But what you do need to do is invoke variance.
I think we're getting a little bit in the weeds here, but the point is, break resist kind of sucks. You do have to plan around it. So talking about team comps, just on that subject, I want to start with my team comp that I used to beat it today, which was Dr. Aiden as my healer. I used Sylvie. I used the free Machina we got. I can't remember. It was Steadfast Soldier or something like that.
Steadfast Soldier, yeah.
Okay. I used Sacred Shield Charlotte as my tank, and then I used Ketone, 2 Ketones as my damage dealer. And the reason I did that, for a couple of reasons. Number one, Sylvie is really good. She's got a lot of action economy, and she can help make up for anything that is lacking. Like Aiden and her have similar skills, so they can overlap a little bit. But what I liked about her is she could break 65%, which was enough. If Machina had really bad RNG, I could get it done with Sylvie, and she could triple cast it. And she gets her triple cast basically every turn if you do your rotation right. And I really liked, Charlotte. I do have one Cecil. I'm not going to DOC him. I really like Charlotte, though. She's always been one of my favorite characters. And I like Catone from War of the Visions. And she was actually fairly easy to gear for evade while still having a really good attack. I think I had almost 3,300 attack and 150% demon and beast killer and 100% evasion. So that was really nice that she fit that. She fit that all in. So that was my team, and it worked really well. Except I beat it and did not get the kill with LB mission for some reason, even though I did use the LB. So I'm gonna have to go back and try it again. But it was a really fun fight. It took a long time because I was distracted a bunch, but it was a really fun fight for me.
Yeah, and I want to say a weeb dies every time Hazard pronounces Kitone's name. I'm just gonna say it.
It's Catone, but I took 27 turns.
Okay, nice. Shadow?
I used Rico as my damage dealer. I used Rico because if you take 2 of his TMRs, he innately has like 70 or 60% evade just from that. So I thought that was really easy. And mine had 3,100 attack with 200% demon and beast killers. So damage was not strong. An issue. And I took Fawn as my provoke breaker. Now, one of the things that I think I got really lucky was whenever I did his break, I triple casted it almost every time, but it always landed on the first one, like all 4 breaks. So I felt like I was wasting.
Lucky of you.
I felt like I was wasting a turn. So later on into the fight, I only single casted his full break and then did other things with one, like imperils or something, and I still was able to live through it. I used Cecil as my magic tank and Dr. Iden as my healer. So my 5th slot was an issue because I didn't know what to bring. I had everything else set up. So I brought a Chin just because I like to use him as much as possible. And it was a bad idea because Chin ended up basically doing nothing the whole fight. And I actually regret bringing Chin, and I should probably just brought another healer or probably another damage dealer. And I think I could have gotten a much faster clear. I did it in 27 turns. Just because when Aiden died in the sub 50% phase, it was really hard to get back up. Cecil died and everything went to shit, and I thought, I need to quit the game. But then, no, I actually used a few elixirs and I had to rely on the Phoenix down. So I still got under the 3-item limit and did it in 27 turns.
So you actually got to kind of sweat a bit. Sounds fun.
Yeah. Who's next? Barros.
Yeah, I can... So I did the impossible thing that we discussed where Dream just shot down me
Stop spreading these lies.
Okay, Dream did revise his statement later. So I did what I promised I was going to do. I wanted to clear the trial with CG Zidane. Because I was saying when CG Zidane got released that his innate evasion was going to help him. And it did. Like for gearing, you can kind of do the Rico there. You get a lot of attack with evasion. He doesn't do as much damage, obviously, as Rico. So I used 2 Zidanes. I used Juraisha. She feels like she is like most people use Juraisha, I guess, because she has really strong buffs and barriers as well as the typed mitigations. So she was really MVP. Who else did I use? I used Cecil and I used... I had an interesting thing. So I actually used Warrior of Light Lena as my healer. Initially, I actually used Serena because she has innate evasion. But I realized that Warrior of Light Lena can actually just spam triple white magic, Dispel, Kuraja, Re-Raise every turn and solve the Dispel for me. So I slotted her in instead. So she was actually my Dispel bot. And it worked out really, really well. I killed him also by turn 27 with the Zidanes. And in the end, I dealt the killing blow without chaining because thanks Rigoro, Zidane died last because that's how the thresholds work. So his Zidane didn't have the buffs and the triple cast. I just mowed him down without chaining. It was fine. So it was a lot of fun. I also liked it. My Cecil did die once because I accidentally used the wrong cooldown. I was so prepared and planning. I was like, oh yeah, and on the first turn in the difficult phase, I don't need Cecil's cooldown because I'm going with Juraisha's LB, which is also a 4k barrier. And I survived. And then on the second turn, I'm gonna use Cecil's magic mitigation. Yeah, but instead I used his cover buff for some reason. That's also a cooldown. So he did die. He did die that turn, actually. So I got a high roll. My Cecil doesn't have to die, according to the sheet. There's this really nice Reddit sheet that you can look at to kind of calculate. So my Cecil doesn't have to die. But I got a high roll, so he did actually die. But I could recover. So it was fun. A lot of fun. So, Cotton, what did you clear it with?
I cleared with a pretty meta lineup with Ace as damage dealer, Charlotte as the magic tank, Van as a breaker, Reyna as a healer and defense spirit buffer bot. And I brought a 6-star Epsilon Nico for dispelling and physical mitigation.
6-star Epsilon Nicole.
It works, okay?
Whatever works, you know?
Yeah.
This is actually one of those trials, now that you mention it, that you can bring a 6-star unit because bulk doesn't matter
just
if you have
need
evade.
evasion.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay.
And it's funny though, because it's like Shadow, you're saying, hey, I didn't know who to bring for the last slot. Cotton, you're saying, hey, you brought a 6-star unit just to get physical mitigation and dispel. But I was struggling a bit to kind of get a team comp that could do all of these things, that could dispel every turn and imperil, etc. Like all of my units were doing stuff every turn. I could not slot in anyone else.
Yeah. So for my team comp, what I used, I had Cecil doing his usual tanking things, and I had Markner as my breaker because his dispel plus break, and then also his other break, like his 2-stat breaks, having like 2 attempts per cast was really handy. And I also had him trying to do some physical mitigation as well, because I didn't have any other source of that. But his action economy was a bit tight for that at times, especially because trying to keep up his triple cast. And then I used Ace as my damage dealer, who worked excellently, gears for evade well, had something like 225 average killer, and then his 75% killer buff.
Oh yeah, I forgot to use
for
Ace's
Demon.
killer buff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then for the last 2 slots, and I think these are kind of the most flexible slots, I had Rena and Luna Freya because I wanted to use them in combination to keep up 50% magic mit. In hindsight, Cecil could have just used his own cooldown more regularly for that, and only brought one of them, because Luna Freya didn't really do much of anything outside of that one cooldown ability, so I think she wasn't that necessary, but I was still pretty happy with the overall comp, because things went very smoothly, and I got it done in 17 turns. And I think sort of almost the general formula for this is like Cecil or Charlotte for Magic Tank, probably Van or Machina or HA Lid for Breaker, and then for 2 slots of choice to kind of cover your healing and support, which are quite flexible slots actually, but stuff like Eurisha, Seaside Nickel, Rena are very common choices there. And then a pair of damage dealers that gear for evade and the kill
And just
as well.
to plug Eurisha a bit more.
I could have taken Eurisha because I didn't have any sort of magic mitigation at all, and that's what kept.
What?
Yeah, that's where
That's
we
where
were.
I went wrong.
What? Shadow? Why? How? Why?
I also, one of the things that happened with my clear is that about like 15 turns in, I forgot that Dr. Aiden has a physical mitigation. He has a type physical mitigation.
Shit.
And I'm like, holy
Jesus,
shit.
how did you
Cecil
even clear
didn't
this
need
trial?
Sorry. Okay, this one is...
Whereas you said he
He died
died a
twice.
lot.
Cecil died twice, but it was
Still
only in the
defeated it
50%
in the same amount of turns that we did, though. Oh, Cotton, how many turns
You
was
had
it for
other
you?
people die too.
18 turns, and that's because I didn't really stagger both aces died.
Wait,
one
why are
after
you making
another towards the
excuses for
end.
doing it 10 turns faster than the rest of
Yeah.
us? So
Yeah, exactly.
Cotton and Dream used Ace, and they got it in 17 and 18 turns. And we used physical damage dealers and got it in 27 each. So
Yeah.
Mages suck, remember?
Also
Hazard.
didn't have people die.
I think I'll do it faster the next time.
That said though, I've seen like the average Rico clear is about as fast as the
Yeah.
average
Yeah.
Ace clear.
Yeah, it
Just
should be
saying.
the same because they do similar amounts of damage.
I think I can do it faster with Ketone. It was my first time, so I need to go back anyway and do the LB mission.
I think I think I could have got mine down to 14 or 15 if, I'd been more careful around the 10% threshold and not had the friend Ace get deathed before finishing it off. But I slightly pushed it too hard.
Yeah, I actually had no idea when each threshold was, except for that 50 to 30% threshold, because I did not look at the AI whatsoever.
Yeah, me neither.
Of course you didn't
I
have
just
it.
Yeah. I just remembered it was every
Yeah, I read it
15%,
once, like,
sort of counted
and
down.
then I remembered it.
You know,
I'm so
let's
glad
see.
that we talked about this because like it really shows how. I mean, there are common elements. We all use Cecil or Charlotte, but there's also like weird. The support side is all very unique. Like I took Chin, somebody took Eurasia, someone else took a 6-star fucking Epsilon Nicole.
You took Chin and it was a bad idea.
Yeah, I guess anyone can fill it really, right? Because all you need is you really need the type mitigations usually from your support role.
Or if you're using Van as a
as I
breaker,
said,
you
I
need
think
someone
that-
else who can dispel for you. So it's either a white mage, healer, or a spot unit.
I think Eurasia was one of the really good dispellers as well. That was part
Yeah,
of why
but
she was
my
really
first
good.
run, actually, I used Juraisha as a dispeller, but then I realized that her action economy goes to absolute dog shit. Because I also wanted to kind of do the killer buffs, the barriers, the mitigations, and you can't do all of those easily with Juraisha while you're dispelling every turn.
So one of the dark horse candidates was really interesting was Seaside Nickel, who's been widely maligned as kind of mediocre at best, but he was actually really good choice for this trial because since your tank is basically the only person taking damage, he has 50% typed mitigations that are single target that last 3 turns. So he's actually a really good choice for that 6th slot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was thinking of making him to a 7-star and going through the hassle of bringing him because he does have all the type mitigations that you want.
Yeah,
He also has a fire and light resistance, which would have worked really well for my team comp. So we'll see. But I really wanted to bring Sylvie because she has overlap of a bunch of things. And if something went wrong, she's really good at recovering the fight. So that's kind of why I brought her.
I think Sinzar used Seaside Nickel a lot as well on his videos, so go check those out,
Why are we
think the
advertising Sinzar?
Why not? He's a great dude, and Cotton used him to advertise our Discord earlier, so I feel it's only fair.
Hey, whatever works, man. Whatever works.
Yeah, true.
no, we've established he's dead to us now because he did
Yeah. I hate being in my time zone though, because like I can, or not just being in my time zone. My time zone is actually really good for trials, but I'm a dad, so I can't do it until the evening anyway. So I'm always late for Sinzar's threads.
Oh yeah, I finished the trial at 1:30 a.m.
There you go.
You were so close, Dream. So close.
Yeah. Damn you, slow phone.
Should have used the damage dealer that isn't as meta,
Wait, that would have made it
Yeah,
work. Oh, I
because
suppose.
no one else would have had
Yeah,
that.
would've-
It's like Ketone's still not on the list.
The especially annoying thing is, like, I mentioned the rule, like, a couple hours before while it was still in main, and since I was like, yeah, I haven't really been applying it lately.
Oh,
But no, he
You
decided.
dug your own
he
grave.
saw you and he's like, yeah, Dream is not getting into my
Yeah.
thread.
It's more like you probably reminded him of the rule, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I should probably start applying it."
Yeah, unfortunately.
yeah. The problem with it,
Ah,
I
poor
can't ever
Dream.
get on that list
One day.
because I'm on Pacific time. So when the server resets, it's 1 a.m. for me, which is there's no way I'm waking up to do some stupid trial.
Well,
at 1
it's
a.m.
usually during maintenance, right? So maintenance ends at around 4 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Yep.
But I think it was for Moon because I was so hyped for the Moon trial. I actually got on there as the second clear on that whole thread, and I was up at 4 a.m. ready to go, and it was probably my best achievement of FFBE so far, being like the second or first person on that thread. Finishing Moon.
Congratulations, Shadow. Congratulations.
We're very proud of you, proud parents.
Thank
We
you.
are.
Thank you.
Well, we talked a lot about Behemoth. It was really an interesting trial, and it kind of brought some new mechanics and some mechanics we definitely didn't like in the break resist. But it's an interesting topic. I think we can definitely flesh out at another time. But I appreciate you
and
guys.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, after you, sir. After you.
Oh, wow, that is so kind of you. No, I just wanted to keep spreading the lies and say I was just so happy to have proven all the haters wrong, including Dream, that Zidane could actually do this trial.
I'd like to use the Dane at some point as well. So because I like CG Zidane, and I also thought he could do this trial.
It was a lot of fun using it, so let me know and I'll put one up.
Sure. The problem that I've had so far is that no one else pulled for Ketone, and it was difficult to find a friend that was geared for it. So, but yeah. So, are you guys still here? Are you guys still listening to this thing?
Yeah.
Are we? Are people still listening to this thing? I don't know.
That's a very philosophical question.
Are people ever still
Probably
listening to
not.
this? Actually, yeah, that is a very good question.
Well, I think that's all we got for this week.
Let's test it.
Oh.
Let's test it. Hazard.
No.
Paris has
Can we just close?
Let's test if anyone is listening right now. Let's just say,
Oh gosh, here
let's
we
ask
go.
a question right now and see how many people pick up on it on the Discord or in the comments on YouTube.
Sure, let's
or
do
Reddit.
this. Let's ask our question not by Barros. Barros will not be asking the question.
I mean,
And
I
then-
could
Alright.
ask the question.
Once
How
you
about
listen
this?
to it, respond in the Reddit thread with your response.
No. How about I'll make it even more interesting. There is a bounty going on in a different FB community, so I'll put in a different bounty as well. If somebody can clear Behemoth using Merc Ramza or Barrel as their magic tank, it has to be their magic tank. I will put in it's a bounty. I don't know what I'm going to give you guys, but if you can make that clear happen, I'll give you guys a reward.
Listen,
It's probably a blowjob, just saying.
Make it just.
I'm just going to say,
Ramza.
I am the biggest Merc Ramza fan in the universe, and I have zero faith that he could do this trial. There's just
with me
no
and
way you
Barrel,
can make him
actually.
bulky enough to do this. And I say that I love him to death, but there's no way that he can get enough spirit to do that.
I mean, I guess just now that I've thought of it, it wouldn't work with Merc Ramza because his cover is cooldown, but with Beryl, I actually have an interesting idea. If you could potentially build like a magic tank with full evade and guts and re-raise them each
boy.
turn, would they potentially would their bulk not matter? Because they could, with guts, they would always be able to take 2 magic AoEs, or in fact 3 after reviving, because I think that's the max that there ever is on the elementless magic.
Would guards work when you're hit by AoE abilities though? Because they're being whacked by so many each turn.
Ah, true. It does
Yeah.
count as 6
This
hits, doesn't it?
Bounty's
Never
been
mind,
out for
that might not
about
work.
20-ish hours now, and there have been interesting theories going about. I just want to see what other people have thoughts about. But this one's on me, so don't bother anyone else.
If you guys can't do that, I would love to hear about your most unique or unconventional clear for this fight. That would be really interesting to hear about. Because I think we all did it kind of, as you guys were saying, mostly conventional way. But none of us did it the Esper every single turn way. I'd like to do that
Yeah.
at some point as well. Or the bulk
Yeah, fuck
route.
that shit.
Shut up.
So let's do like a code. Let's do a code
'Cause I
word.
think-
So listeners, if anyone is still listening right now, comment with just write poop in the Reddit thread or
Oh
on the
God.
Discord if you
All right.
think Muspel
That's
is
the-
a poop head. Okay.
You couldn't-
So just like only the.
Couldn't think of
Like it's only
anything more
us and the
creative.
one person that's listening right now that knows. If you write poop, we all know what you mean. Muspel is a poop head.
This is like the poster child for moving goal. Like you're literally moving the goalposts as you're putting the goalpost down.
I'm sorry, English is not my first language. I don't understand that.
Tried to put them down on a hill and they just
And this is still rolling. It's still rolling down there.
Speaking of other languages, Cotton, do you want to do the honors this week and send us off in another language of your choice?
谢谢
Is
关
Cotton
于
already
我们的
gone?
Global
I guess that's a
Exclusive
no.
Podcast，大家吃裤子。
She did say eat pan, didn't she? I'm pretty sure she did.
Yeah. See
All
you
right.
guys next week.
Yeah, see ya, guys.
See ya.
And remember, say poop.
Oh god.